Hi there. Welcome to this interview with Ray Simpson. My name is Scott Brennan, and I'm speaking to you from the White House on Holy Island, which is it's your previous house, isn't it, Ray? So welcome to this interview.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be with you. And thanks, Scott, for interviewing me from my house.
Yeah, I'm a sitting tenant right now.
And I'm from my house in the borderlands, 12 miles north.
Yeah, so you're now in Berwick, but you spent many years living on Holy Island, Ray. How long were you here?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years. And I've just moved in, and I'm going to be working with the community of Ain-in-Hilda. So we were asked by the publisher of Ray's latest book, Monk in the Marketplace, to do a little bit of an interview and ask some questions. And so that's what we're going to do. Isn't that right, Ray?
That's right.
So here's my first question. Can you tell us a little bit about what was your inspiration for turning your story into a memoir?
Well, one inspiration was sitting next to a gravedigger in a pub in Toronto who told me his greatest sadness was lowering so many people into a grave who'd never told their story.
Wow.
I thought that God has a book. He writes the story of everyone, and we need to do it for ourselves. And so that was one inspiration. The other one was, I said to my soul friend, how do I stop living out of my childhood script? And he said, well, you could have another script, like agape, unconditional flowing love from God, all giving. And I said, blimey, that's a lifetime. So I began to live through my life in terms of the script I was living out and the interweaving of these two scripts, the childhood script and the God script.
Wow. Wow, that's fascinating. I've actually read the pre-published version, really enjoyed reading it, especially getting to hear things that I didn't know about you. How long did the book take you to write? Had you been taking notes over a period of time? Tell us a little bit about the process.
Well, I started keeping a journal 40 years ago or more, but I didn't think I could ever put it together in one book. But I think I did a draft about 10 years ago called God's Apprentice, and I thought, that's no good. So I looked on my computer, and I've got 6 different drafts with different titles from some years ago. But the actual book that's now published, it's what I call the joined up narrative, boiling it down to the golden thread, as it were. That's taken me 2 years.
Wow. I remember actually recently we did a bit of an interview and conversation with Ian Bradley, and who's obviously an academic and an author himself. And I remember him saying something that really impressed me during that time was that he admired you, Ray, because you had lived out the things that you had written about. And I suppose that's a bit of a challenge, isn't it? I remember reading Henri Nouwen's biography, and one of the things he said was that the gap between his writing and his life was always a challenge. And so I suppose one of my questions is, what was one of the challenges of writing this book?
I suppose one of the challenges is that there's 28,000 days worth of life, which would take 1,000 books of huge length. How do you discover the golden thread, the divine thread, if you like, that's woven through all this vast amount of stuff, inner stuff that goes on in me, daily mundane stuff and activities and so on. And it's like a mining operation. Mm-hmm. And I think I've tried to dig through all the experiences of my life and then to see the gold that's there.
Wonderful.
Thread.
I did actually say to you previously that I felt that you'd been very transparent in the book. Was that an intentional thing?
Yes, I feel I have to be honest. I can't bear secondhand stuff or hypocritical stuff. And also, I know that there's a Pharisee in me as there is in everyone else, but I have tried to recognize the Pharisee tendency and get beyond it. And so, to be honest, is quite hard, but it's also actually no point in doing anything that isn't honest, because you're just adding to all the negative stuff in the world, and we've got enough of that already. But I did try to look for underground stirrings, epiphany moments, agonies and ecstasies, and then see the golden thread that emerges.
So with that in mind, were you surprised by things that you learned, or did things come back to mind?
Yes, I mentioned the book Spiritual Intelligence, and I felt I lacked emotional intelligence for a lot of my life. So I learned a lot about putting myself in the shoes of others, and seeing heaven breaking through the brittle shell, which is me. And also, instead of looking at my critics as enemies, or as a hurt refugee, I looked upon them as people who only really hate me because they really hate themselves. So they need me to love them and to heal them and to be for them. That's one of the greatest things the books helped me to understand.
Wow. And just the whole idea of the Celtic saints, they were very honest and they were very earthy. And what I love about the book is that you come through as very honest. So I like that a lot. But was there something particularly that the book, a memory that the book brought back, or a powerful feeling or experience that you had? Was there something that particularly came to you as you were writing the book?
Well, one of the most memorable experiences of my life, which I recount in the book, is midnight on New Year's night on Holy Island, when I knelt in a cowshed, which had been turned into a prayer cell, following the Archbishop of Canterbury's New Year TV message, which nobody else looked at in the bed and breakfast where I was staying, on the importance of cradle places and bringing faith to nations. And I knelt down in this cowshed and offered myself to God, and a very clear voice said to me, I want little Bethlehems all over the world. I don't want Jerusalems and Canterburys and Romes. I want little Bethlehems, and I want my people to connect with my presence in creation, in the people of all races who are outside the church, and in the poor. And that was a very powerful experience.
And that's clearly shaped the sort of things that you did from that moment on. If what we're hoping is that people will read the book. If you could choose one lesson or message for readers to take away, what do you think that would be?
That this world is not just it's not just one damn thing after another, after all.
Yeah.
There's meaning in living on this earth, and that the Almighty God has a purpose for each one of us, and we can listen to the voice of the Almighty and have a wonderful purpose on earth. And the Celtic saints and the Desert Fathers, whom I've been greatly influenced by, are examples of, if you like, indigenous grassroots people who live the way Jesus lived without being subservient to imperial constructs and mindsets. So it's about liberation in a way.
Yeah.
Liberation movement.
So if you're a radical out there, or if you're genuinely interested in Celtic spirituality and the Celtic saints, or you just want to be nosy about Ray's life, find out about his potential girlfriends, then this book is for you. Ray, tell us, when is the book being launched?
It's being published on the last day of March. And I am emailing absolutely everybody, because I have to buy 800 copies as part of the deal with the publisher. And I'm offering everybody £1 off the book, a signed autograph copy, and free post-outs, unless it's outside Europe. A triple blessing. That's what I'm offering.
Okay, so if you would like a copy of the book, do they contact you directly?
Yes, I mean, everybody on my email list will get how to pay email, but people just email me saying, send me so many copies, and I'll tell you how to pay, or you can send a check. Yeah.
And they can get your email through your website. Is it raysimpson.com?
Reverend Ray Simpson at btinternet.com, REVD.RAY.
And so that's your email address, and you actually have a website. I think it is raysimpson.com.
RaySimpson.com.org. Sorry, Ray Simpson.
.org. Okay. Well,
it's a great website.
yeah. So, well, thank you, Ray. That was fascinating. I've read the book. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. So, I really encourage people to get a copy. Thank you for giving me your time today. And if anybody has any questions, they can contact you either by email or on your website.
Well, thank you, Scott, for giving the time.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.